Alright, this is Comics Expertise bringing you my summary and thoughts on X-Men #4, written by Jonathan Hickman and illustrated by Leinil Francis Yu. So let's get into it. This comic opens on the current day, 1 month after Krakoa has revealed itself to the world. We see Cyclops, Gorgon, Apocalypse, Magneto, Professor X all exiting the X-Plane in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. As the mutant delegation enters the building, security tells Cyclops and Gorgon that they must remain behind as the leaders converse in private. Cyclops and Gorgon wait as a security guard, while acknowledging that their protective details of the attendees can carry weapons, ask Gorgon to relinquish his swords as they are too overt. Which, I mean, obviously you can't just carry swords around. Now, to sidetrack for a second and give you some background on what Gorgon is capable of, he has enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, a healing factor, fighting skills on par with and surpassing Wolverine and Elektra, Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, a genius level intellect, and to top all of that off, if you look into his eyes, you are turned to stone. So he looks at this security guard from behind the shades that are keeping him from being petrified and flexes hard as he says, "The problem is you look at me and think the blade is the weapon."
I am the weapon.
Before security can insist on taking the swords, Cyclops steps up and claims the mutants will be on their best behavior. From there, we see an info page listing the Economic Forum attendees. In addition to the Krakoan delegation, there are 3 political representatives and 4 international guests. The 3 political representatives being a Wakandan attaché, Chinese ambassador, and the US ambassador. The 4 international guests are 1 academic guest from Brazil and 3 business guests from Italy, Switzerland, and from India. The Swiss business guest shakes hands with Professor X and Magneto, calling them by their names. But when he gets to Apocalypse and asks what he should refer to Apocalypse as, Apocalypse says, "I am Apocalypse. My other names are not fit for you to speak." And that just had me die. I was like, oh my god, this dude's badass. Finally, some good dialogue from Apocalypse. The Swiss representative takes this in stride, however, and proposes a toast to peace. And while they all toast to peace, we see 2 assault teams in other rooms with psychic dampeners on their heads. Professor X is able to pick up the presence of these assault teams and relays this information to Cyclops and Gorgon. Not missing a beat, Cyclops and Gorgon, after splitting up, proceed to each demolish a security team. It's not even a fair fight, to the point where while they're owning the security team, everyone having dinner is none the wiser except for the American, who is touching his earpiece because he knows something is wrong, and obviously the mutants already know. But to just touch on how hard the human security team was flexed on by Gorgon in particular, this monster of a badass not only cut an arm off of everyone who attacked him, but proceeds to tell them, even though they studied, even though they trained, even though they tested themselves against their fellow man, they now know what they really are and what a true warrior looks like. But I digress. Gorgon isn't the only one serving up cold hard truths. Back at the dinner table, Magneto quotes a book called The Island by Aldous Huxley when he says, "Armaments, universal debt, and planned obsolescence. Are these not the 3 pillars of Western prosperity?" And I gotta say, truer words were never spoken given society today. However, the Brazilian academic calls Magneto out for having to quote a human author to make his point. He even throws jabs by pointing out that there are no famous mutant authors. Apocalypse's turn with great dialogue comes when it is pointed out that the humans unlearn and rewrite their history rather than learn from it. Magneto points to the Dark Ages and ending of the Bronze Age, which was ended in real life, by the way, but no one knows why. The American ambassador says, "Who cares what the collapse of the Bronze Age was caused by?" Apocalypse responds, "I was alive then, and you should care." When he is asked what caused the collapse, his one-word response is calamity. The Italian businesswoman points out that talk like this always leads to war, and Magneto goes into full-on villain monologue and straight up tells everyone the plan the mutants have. And what is that plan, you might say? Well, I'll tell you. The plan is so Magneto says, we will buy your banks, we will buy your schools, we will buy your media, we will buy your politicians. And then when we have bought all the rest, we will buy you, because you have taught us that everything has a price and we are happy to pay. And then when we have this influence, we will use it. We will make sure that the wrong sort of people, and you know who, no longer have any economic power. We will not allow them inside our institutions because it's important they do not have anywhere to peddle their dangerous, outdated ideas. And that is how it will end, like a fire with no oxygen. There will be no war. After he says this, he goes out of his way to say, try us again if you will, but if you do, expect a response.
I'm telling you the law. Out here it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe. Let it go. Let it go.
So my conversation was I couldn't tell it. It was great. It was badass dialogue from Magneto, Gorgon, and Apocalypse. It's the badass fights, however short, between Cyclops, Gorgon, and their opposing security teams. To the art on the faces of the numerous characters in response to said dialogue, A+ comic from Hickman, who I worried was overhyped, but he earned his paycheck on this. And for those who noticed I barely mentioned Professor Xavier, fear not, because that is by design. Go buy the comic for more on his interactions, or ask me about it in the comment section below.